So everybody, another quick one here. This will be, I'm running for, warning to all politicians, I'm running for president 2024, part 28. Just quickly though, a little thing here. I was just inside to get some supplies and stuff, and the song "We Are the World, We Are the Children" was on in the truck stop there on the station they had on, and it's true. But if you go back and you watch the documentary about that being made, it made me laugh in there hearing the song, because if you watch the documentary, you know, they have all these people who sing in different registers and stuff, and they're trying to hit, you know, certain keys, and so they keep making other people, some of the people there, re-sing their parts, and so, you know, and you got it was Lionel Richie and some others who were directing the whole thing, saying, you know, try it this way, or try it, but when it came around to Bruce, nobody ever told Bruce, hey Bruce, do it this way or that way. It was just Bruce's voice, raspy voice, you know, we are, you know. so every time I hear that song, I gotta laugh, because I think of that documentary. It's like, you know, no one was going up to Bruce and said, do it this way. So he does have quite the unique style and everything, and it's good. I'm not knocking him, but so anyway, looking at how advertising and all these things form people's opinions, or influence stations to form people's opinions about things. Is it truth that matters, or is it ratings and advertising dollars? You look at our society, and so many people out there hold influence, whether it's your evangelical preacher, whether it's Farrakhan, whether it's people like in politics like Ellison, and I forget the Muslim lady's name. But you look and like I said, I was like, you know, some people would say I wasn't a believer, but you know, you grow up in this country, you basically have the Christian belief, unless you're in a Jewish family or another type of family. But I'm just talking about average white American growing up, or African American growing up in this country. Whether you've gone to church or not, you know who Jesus is, you know who Moses is, you know, and you got Christmas and you got Easter and Passover, you know, going on. So you're not a quote-unquote formal believer. And then maybe at a point, you know, you say the prayer confession they tell you, and you make a decision, and now you're a quote-unquote true believer. And that's what you believe, and you believe the people who are telling you, and then they tell you, you know, that they're it. And you fall into that. I fully admit, and before I did become a quote-unquote formal believer, I never made no difference between Christians, Jews, Muslims, anybody, Buddhists, Hindus. Never had an attitude that, you know, well, you know, those people's religion's stupid, or it doesn't matter, or it's false, or anything like that. It's just everyone believed what they believed. And then you get your quote-unquote formal true believer, and they give you all these doctrines that just you, and then even within Christianity, well, no, them Catholics, they're full of crap, you got to be us, or you got to be this, or you got to be Jehovah's Witness, or you got to be Mormon, or you got to the true believers. There's always these splits. So then when I started questioning those people after 9/11 and paying attention to what was coming out of the mouths of these quote-unquote great men and women of God who were endowed with knowledge of the Holy Spirit and this and that, I started questioning some of the things they were saying. And I started asking God, you know, who are you? Why are there so many religions? Why isn't there brotherhood that Jesus spoke of? Why was there slavery? Why was there this? Your maker doesn't mind you asking him questions. But like in the Gospels, it says anyone who thinks you can ask, if you ask God a question, you won't receive an answer. You're, I forget what is the word used. But it's like you're calling God a liar or something. But anyhow, so you can ask, but you better be ready to get the answers. Because if you ain't paying attention, you'll get the answer and it'll slide right by you until later, and then you go, whoa, wait a minute. Because God's not asleep. He just ain't. And if you're atheist and all this and everything, I ain't, but you believe in God, whatever. I also believe science holds a place. And, I don't believe, religious people who go and try and tell you the world is 6,000 years old in this when science points to it being way much older, 4 billion or whatever. I think they're guessing at the exact, but it's definitely way much older than most Western Christian theology will admit to. So anyhow, so then I became Muslim after I admit I started reading Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, this and that. But I wasn't connecting with any of that stuff. I didn't really go in depth. But then when I read the Quran, it's like, this book is from God. How can these people who say they know God and all this and are so divinely guided deny this book is from God? So then I just basically, I was kind of like, I didn't call myself Sunni or Shia or anything, but was more aligned with the Sunni doctrines. I didn't know anything about what Shia taught, just that most Sunnis discount it, that they were sects, that they broke off into sects. And so then it wasn't until I hurt my arm in 2015 and was out of work for 8 months into 2016 that I had time to look at things, and I started, because when I found out that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, spoke of who should take over after him, and then I saw how his descendants were persecuted and killed and things like this, I was kind of like, wait a minute. How can you say you're a believer and then attack his daughter, attack his son-in-law, attack his grandchildren? How can you say you love this man for the guidance he gave you and for everything he went through, and then attack his family? So I started studying a lot more then and everything, and then during this time I also became a quote-unquote follower of a man named Imran Hussein, who knows a lot about money and a lot about things, but is sort of behind the times. And anyway, one of the doctrines he espouses is that America and Israel are trying to cause a war between Shia and Sunni Islam. And if you look at the politics of the day and what you see in the news media and some of the actions that were going on, I mean, Trump's doing a lot to get us out of there. But and how allied we are with Saudi Arabia, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I think maybe it should be more balanced with the other nations around there. But you would tend to think this man, Imran Hussein, knows what he's talking about. They're trying they want a civil war between Shia and Sunni so they can take everything over and decimate the Islamic communities, nations. And so that was kind of a belief I had until I really started looking into Shia Islam and seeing that this conflict goes way back between Shia and Sunni. And they have extremists on both sides. There's a lot of Shia and Sunni in the same family, in a lot of communities where, they don't call each other names and curse each other and go to war with each other. But excuse me. But this whole idea that it was us and the United States and Israel who were behind all this hatred and violence between the two groups, is like I started to realize Shia and Sunni don't need anybody to inspire them to kill each other. They've been doing it for centuries. And to say, all this is going on because of the United States and Israel, they were killing each other before the United States and Israel even existed. So that's what I'm getting at. The point is, who's your guru? Do you look outside the box? Do you read things for yourself? Do you take a step back and say, what is really going on? Do you bother to ask your maker? Do you bother to pray and ask your maker to show you the truth and show you how we're supposed to be as humanity, or how we are supposed to be as individuals? What should our goals really be? Who are these people? Because in the Quran, it's plain to see, because I looked at all the corruption and everything within religion, and the wars and stuff like that, while I was asking these questions, and I'd open a page and I'd be wondering about something. Why is all this like this? And the Quran is very clear about how men have taken what's been handed down to them and used it for their own evil purposes, if you like. How they pervert religion to control people and to for their own means, for their own power, for their own wealth. And it's the same with politics and everything else, and how they will use religion, racism, and all this stuff to foster hate and fear and all those types of things in the Quran. So it was a warning to the believers: don't be like those before you who've used their religion to do all these things, and then after the death of the prophet and those of his family who were ordained to continue the religion after their deaths and everything else, these other groups took over and then perverted the religion. And you can see that with groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda and all these types of things. So that's why I'm asking people, what's your mindset? Who's your guru? Who are you following? Who is influencing your thoughts, your mind, and the thoughts and the minds of your children? How do you see other people around the world? Do you see them as being so totally different than you that they're your enemy based on their religious beliefs or the color of their skin? Because it's also in the Quran, whoever kills for racism will go to hell. So all you people in the Klan and all this or whatever, and all you people in black supremacist groups, or any other group that thinks you can kill someone because you hate them because of the color of their skin, you're in for a rude awakening. And there's things that I've always tried to point out to people who made these types of distinctions and stuff, or tried to, and the differences between races and stuff and religions. I've always been like, well, there was a guy one time on the CB a long time ago, back in the 90s, that had always stuck out in my head, who was, these ragheads, this and that and everything, and all these types of people and stuff, and foreigners and putting them down and all this stuff. And I said, hey man, you're a product of what's around you, mostly. I said, if you were born in a Muslim country, you'd be Muslim. If you're born in India, chances are you'd be a Hindu, or Asia, you'd be a Buddhist, whatever. I said, no one gets to pick who their parents are or where they're born. And he's like, oh no, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. I'd be, what? And it's like, come on, man. You don't have enough common sense to see that you're a product of your society, and you didn't get to pick where you were born or the color of your skin. None of us, not that we can recall anyway. I don't know, maybe before our souls are put into our mother's wombs, and into our bodies in our mother's wombs, maybe there is something. It's like wiped from our memory or whatever. Maybe before we're sent down, we're asked, hey, where do you want to be born? What color do you want to be? Whatever. I don't know. God knows. I've never heard anyone say that as a doctrine or anything like that, but for the most part, that's, I think, a pretty fair a reasonable thing to say is, no one's given a choice on where they're born or what culture they're born into or the color of their skin. So to blame somebody, whether it's, whites blaming blacks or making a distinction about the color of their skin, or blacks making a distinction, there's a lot of them do it. You can go look at Farrakhan stuff. We're evil just because we're white. A lot of African Americans, hey, you're white, you're the reason for everything bad in the world. This type of stuff. So that's why I ask, who's your guru? Who are you following? What are your perspectives? I just told you mine. That we are all from one God. We all live on one planet. Doesn't mean we're not going to have problems or difficulties with each other, but we need to figure out how to handle them in a rational way and understanding we are all God's creatures. And we will all return to Him, and we will all have our books opened and be questioned about what we did, positive or negative, in our brief time in this temporal world, which is the whole earth's a graveyard. No one gets out alive. It's a graveyard. So what are you willing to kill other people over when it's temporal? You're not gonna, and even in this life, somebody else can come and take it away from you. You don't know where it goes when you die, and who takes. Look at the cultures for thousands of years. We discover the civilizations. Where are they now? Somebody else has their land. Somebody else has built their cities. All those old cities are buried under dust. It's a sign. It's to make people think. It's to make you think. How greater civilization when we're trying to be, we're going to go, or any civilization. We're going to build an empire. We're going to be the mightiest and this and that and everything. And it's like, it's been said and done before. And they're all buried under dust and long forgotten. The names of their great men are long forgotten for the most part. So you got to understand your place in the world, the place of nations in the world. Yes, we need government. We need to be able to have our own cultures, this and that. Maybe sometime thousands of years in the future, maybe there will be no borders, this and that. It will be one world. Everybody living in peace. But that doesn't say you get rid of all the law and you allow criminals to run free, and that you're not supposed to try and protect everyday normal people from others who do not see those everyday normal people as their fellow human beings or their brothers and sisters. They see them as targets, as victims. A rapist does not see the woman he's raping as his sister, as his fellow human being. And so you have to protect society from people like that. So there is a difference for those who will try and make some kind of convoluted argument that, well, all these other people are human beings that you're saying to get rid of and everything too. And yes, they are. And I believe in repentance. I believe giving people a chance. But I also believe you can't be stupid. You can't be stupid and allow violent people with distorted views run the streets and put the rest of the community or the nation or humanity at risk. So like I believe you got to reel in them loose cannons in governments, in politics and stuff like this. They're the warmongers who are all too eager to show, hey, we'll incinerate you, whatever, So whether it's Kim or somebody who's in power here, or a Hitler type, whatever, those type of people we have to stand up to and say no, we're not gonna go down that road. So anyhow, I hope that helps clear up some things about me and my views, and maybe helps some people out there who are being misguided by their quote-unquote guru, preacher, cleric, whoever. and skewing your view of your fellow human beings and other nations around the world. And because if you have skewed views, then you can justify doing things that maybe you shouldn't do. ISIS has a skewed view, and they use that to justify the things they do. Al-Qaeda has a skewed view, and they use that to justify things they do. Lots of groups. Boko Haram. A lot of people in this country, whether the Ku Klux Klan or the street gangs, they all have a skewed view of themselves and their position in humanity, and they have skewed views of humanity around them. You understand that? So if you have a skewed view, you can pretty much justify in your own mind anyway the evil things you do. Hitler had a skewed view, and he used that and was able to propagate that and give that skewed view to many people who also then justified their evil deeds. So that's the kind of point I'm trying to make. All right, wish you all the best out there. Be careful. God bless. We'll see you next time. Adios.